Is this all as well? I'm looking at the wrong screen. Go on.
Very well. All right, in which case we will get started. Welcome everybody to this week's KubeVirt community meeting. It is the 29th of January 2025. Thanks for being here. I'm slightly disorganized at the minute, so let me just pop this into chat. Here's a link to our agenda. And if you could please add your name to our minutes as an attendee, that would be super wonderful. Is there anyone here who is new to the meeting or maybe isn't new to the meeting but hasn't taken the opportunity to introduce themselves? I invite you now to say good day. I'll take that as a no or a silent battle with a microphone. So we will move on. If you are a silent battler, then by all means jump in later once you've sorted out. So our version 1.5 KubeVirt release is coming up to its feature freeze, which will be on the 2nd of February. What's that, 2 weeks away? I guess calendar invite is wrong.
No, it's next week. Isn't it?
Next week? 12th of February?
12th. Oh, I thought you said the 2nd. Sorry.
I might have said the 2nd of February because it's the second month. But yeah, put a 1 in front of that too. And we've got the 12th of February as our feature freeze, which should be. I'm just puzzling over Stu's message. So if you've got a clone of the meeting, of the calendar invite, that'll be wrong because it was updated at the start of the year. But I'm 98% sure I updated the KubeVirt calendar entry. So that should be correct. But let me know if that's wrong.
Yeah, let's sort that offline. I didn't want to take some bandwidth. Sorry about that.
You're right, you're right. And that is a feature freeze for the 5th of March will be our release. This will be the first release. Speaking of that calendar, you will find all of these in the KubeVirt calendar. If you know, since it is our single source of truth regarding these kinds of things. That's all we need to see there. Upcoming CFP. I don't think it's changed since last time. It is still KubeCon China and Japan have a CFP that closes this Sunday. So if you're interested in going and haven't yet submitted, your time is it's fast evaporating. And then KubeCon India, you have another month and a bit, and then Container Days as well. They're both in March. As far as events are concerned, we have a bunch of KubeVirtians at FOSDEM this weekend. All of these talks will be in the virtualization dev room, virtualization cloud infra dev room, I should say, which is on the Sunday. This talk is on Saturday in the, can't remember what it's called, it used to be the CI room. Is Daniel here?
Yes, I am. I was just a bit distracted. You're talking about the CI and testing dev room, I think, right?
Testing and continuous delivery dev room.
Yeah, exactly. Sorry.
Wherever that is. In UD6 building or something. And you'll be able to find a representative of ours throughout the weekend at the CNCF stand, which is, I think, level 1 in K building. We're definitely in K building. The level to be decided. Alrighty, we have nothing on the agenda and notes, but a bunch on the open floor. If you do have anything to add, by all means, add something. We'll return to it at the end of the meeting just to make sure that we've covered everything. So without any further ado, Daniel, I believe you've got some things to say about DosiBot.
Yeah, so I just wanted to, since we had the discussion last week about like whether DosiBot is helpful or not, and the majority seem to think that it might not be as helpful as it could be, I would probably like beg to differ insofar that it might just be helpful if you're asking the right question somehow. So, which obviously is not an easy task for someone who is new to the project. So, I was just wanting to show like a question I have been asking and the answer of DosuBot, and it seems to have a pretty good idea what to do. So if you're asking for the right things, so maybe we could just somehow refrain to probably not let Dosu ask directly, but whenever we are trying to somehow like leverage Dosu, ask the questions ourselves on behalf of the user who is actually asking it. So maybe it then turns out with a better answer than initially when an uninformed user, I may say, I hope that I don't offend anyone, but I think like, or like again, a user new to the project might not have as good as a way to ask as us. So probably we should ask the questions on behalf. That's what I'm suggesting. So does that make sense, or is it not understandable what I've been saying?
So it makes sense. Well, what you said is that if you're asking the right question, and so you were satisfied from its answer, right? For regarding how to implement the label.
Yeah, exactly. So what I was like asking him, I knew actually what I need to ask for. So if you have a pretty good idea how everything works, then actually DosuBot can be quite helpful in filling out the nitty-gritty details. That's what I'm trying to say. So what you see, for example, when you're looking at that external plugin thing, my question is around like only 2 sentences, and DosuBot goes on to elaborate like a pretty much detailed plan of how to implement that, and that points actually to the right places. But yeah, again, so you have to exactly specify exactly what you want, and I think like that's most of the time the problem with large language models, that they if they are not like ask the right questions, they might even make something up. So yeah, and that's I think what we are seeing when Dosu is trying to answer the questions from people that are not as experienced as us. So yeah, Igor, I think you're right what you're saying.
Yeah, I got it. Thank you. Thank you for the input.
So are you suggesting we should turn off the automatic answers of those two, or how should we go forward with it?
I was at least thinking that we might be so either we need to be more active, in my opinion at least, but I would leave that to a discussion. Since we're already on the open floor, we could discuss that. My intent would be like we can probably like leave the answers of those who open, or let him answer probably, but we then need to revise those answers whether they are correct enough, and correct him, and so tell him what is right to say somehow. So and the other way would be like asking a more specific question that would help answer the answer that the user initially gave. I think there is two ways of approaching here, and I would probably be open for ideas on what would be better. So I think like as you said, like Felix, it might be helpful that we turn it off altogether, but then we are risking probably that we lose users who go just away because they don't get an answer. On the other hand, I think like giving probably not entirely. I mean, a wrong answer is bad. I agree to that, and I think like people are complaining about things that they are not exactly right and stuff. But if we can like, if a couple of people could probably like revise what their what those who answers and correct them, then we might be already good. Um, but yeah, I don't know which would be better approach. So the thing is, what I was also being asked was, wouldn't we just miss like the issues that are uncommented, as we currently we are triaging issues and looking for things that might need an answer, and if those is already answering, we might be on the wrong trail somehow, like thinking, okay, someone has already answered, but those who probably gave the wrong answer. This can obviously also happen with a normal user, but yeah. So I mean, like those who might be more of a correction, and he might, in turn, he might, if we help him getting better, he might be giving more or improved and revised answers. Felix, sorry. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So you revise him by what? By precising the question or what?
Yeah, exactly. To just tell him what is wrong on his answer and what is right, so he learns about that then. Um, so Vladik, I see your hand up. Sorry for that.
Yeah, no worries. I mean, there are, from what I've seen, there are some examples where we miss either documentation or, for example, certain issues are not um, descriptive enough for him to understand what's the problem. But there are other examples, like for example, in the issue that I posted in the chat, he tried to answer, and apparently another person had a similar issue, and we really don't have anything about this. And I mean, perhaps when the SIG network will get to go over their related bugs, they'll be able to provide a better answer. And the next time somebody will face this, um, DOSUBot will be able to answer.
Yeah, so I tend to think that we might stop Dosubot from answering, and he might we might sort or go back to trying to initially answer or ask those who more specifically, probably not let him answer directly, because he might make things up which might confuse entirely new users. Is that in a nutshell what you're saying, Vladik, or did I get you wrong?
No, I actually think that it's better for him to start the conversation. I mean, at least post something that will give users some kind of an answer. They can continue the conversation, but I think the moment we will actively add more data, he will be able to it will be able to answer with the with something more refined.
Mm.
So I wouldn't turn it off.
Mm.
It feels like a conversation starter to me.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think like from what I hear, we should probably like at least on a regular basis review those two bots' answers and try to correct him. I'm not sure if this meeting is the right place to do that, but I think we would probably need to do it at some point.
We could create a SIG dosu, or maybe a working group dosu.
No, but I mean, for example, this one was open as an issue for SIG network. I mean, hopefully they will get to review one of their bugs and will provide more data, and then next time um, it will reply with a better answer. We actually have a dashboard of things that Dosubot answered. I mean, we can open up to people who are interested in going over this stuff.
Yeah,
Are you able
please,
to
please.
post that link? Sorry,
I
Daniel.
can. No, it's all fine. I was just wanting to add to that. If people are interested, I'll try to invite them, should they. But it's like the app seems to somehow not always work entirely. So it's like feels to me a bit like a beta stage. So sometimes the invitations don't work and stuff. So bear with us if we are trying to onboard you somehow. Vladik, you also have administrator access, right? So you could also like onboard people.
Yeah, sure thing.
Okay.
I think that's
And
a
Andrew, I
good.
see you also have like admin access, so you should also probably be
Do I?
able to onboard people. Yeah, you have. That's funny. But yeah, so at least I invited you as an admin. So maybe you need to accept it, or did you miss it probably in your inbox? I don't know.
Who knows? Or maybe I accepted it and just never followed up on it. But I think that is an important thing that that you've covered here, is that sometimes it can help identify gaps in our documentation. And I think when we see that, we don't need to necessarily solve it right now, but at least raising an issue could be helpful in tracking those things. Because if it doesn't help the person immediately, then it could help other people further along the line that have the same questions, and also helps teach Dosubot. Daniel, you've got the next point as well.
Yeah, so yeah, this is just like a reminder that we probably should do periodically, because people tend probably to forget that at some point, if a pull request is not entirely ready for reviews, they should probably consider like creating it as a draft PR. This is just in order to try and save resources. So when you're actually so the thing is, when you're actually like still working on a pull request and pushing regularly, like in short intervals, then what this will lead to, that all the CI runs, the CI lanes, which which consume a lot of resources, will be triggered and then get interrupted. So this is just like a waste because you don't need the signal. In that case, please consider thinking about probably creating just a draft PR, because those don't have the automated test lane triggering on. So you would save us resources for every other person who needs it. And thanks, I'm done.
Thank you for that. I was just leaving a bit of time, A, for the baby to stop crying, but also in case someone wanted to jump in and say anything else.
Hey, yeah, I thought I'd come and visit. Essentially, I did a talk about KubeVirt recently back in November, and I have some curiosities of my own regarding your process. For example, if I find an issue, because I do a lot of testing and I'm practicing some pen testing, and I use a lot of KubeVirt VMs to do that, is it okay to just bring up an issue to the official GitHub? Or do I have to go through a different process if I find something, that's out of the ordinary? Or
I guess it depends how I don't know. So we have, first of all, to the additional question, absolutely. Please raise an issue if you do find something. If it is potentially sensitive, we have a security mailing list, which I think is in the community. Maybe it's in the KubeVirt.
Okay.
If someone can beat me with the link.
Okay. As long as it's accessible, I can find it. That's not a problem.
Here it is.
There it is. There. Yeah, I remember seeing something about. Awesome.
Yeah, and then so there's a mailing list there, which is the best thing to do. We have had one issue in the past where the mail was bouncing the domain of the sender, in which case we have an alternate reporting mechanism through the GitHub vulnerability report.
Okay. Okay. So I'll go through here first. That sounds good. Okay. Yeah, other than that, I mean, I don't really, at the moment, I don't have any complaints. It does exactly what I needed to do for my purposes, and I run it. I have it running right now behind me physically because I do a lot of on-prem, and you know, I might put together another talk that involves KubeVirt again at next year's Ohio Linux Fest or any other opportunity where I can speak on the topic.
Awesome. Do you happen to have the recording from your talk in November?
Yes, it's on the official Ohio Linux Fest YouTube. Now, funny enough, the way they did it was that they just did one giant 7-hour recording, like they recorded the entire day. So I'm like somewhere in the in the middle of that, but yeah, I can definitely send that along if you want, like just that where I start, not the whole 7 hours.
That would be great. That would be great.
Yeah.
And I can see if we can then just trim that to add it to our own YouTube playlist. KubeCon North America will be, I think, in Atlanta, Georgia, in around the start to mid-November this year. If you're interested in submitting to that.
Yeah, I should have. I was actually considering going to the next one, which would be in Los Angeles, 2026.
Okay.
Just because this year I'm kind of more focused on saving the money, of course, because you know, I'm all the way out in Toronto, so I have to travel to these things. But you know, just like yourself, I also have a little toddler of my own that I got to keep an eye on. A baby as well. She's going to be turning 2 in October, so it's going to be a nice little family vacay as well when I go.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
Very cool.
yeah. If I decide to go, it'll be her. Actually, no, for next year it would be her 3rd birthday coming up at that time. But for this year, I just wanted to spend it with her this here at home, and then November again. I'm assuming it's November for Ohio Linux Fest, so I'll apply for that again. I'll do a more kind of like I'll do like a part 2 because the talk I gave about KubeVirt was kind of anyone who doesn't know what it is or is new to Kubernetes, listen up. That was kind of like my first talk. So now if I go this year, and the Rocky Linux community has been phenomenal at supporting me to go to these events, at least to this one so far. And thanks to them, actually, I had the opportunity to speak there. So I'm going to do the same thing. If they send me again this year, which they most likely will, then I will do the same. I will take advantages to do a talk and just, you know, demonstrate Rocky Linux within KubeVirt, how it functions, how I use it every day, how people can start using it so that they can do what they need to do or learn the technologies. And yeah, it's been great. So let's see if I can build on that for this year at this year's Ohio Linux Fest.
Nice one.
Yeah.
Are you a member of the KubeVirt GitHub project?
I don't think so. Not officially, no.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to be submitting any kind of PRs regularly or anything like that, it'd be really good to have you involved, I guess, officially in the project.
Okay.
I put the, I think in last week's, here we go. Copy that, put it here. We have a link to just the list of requirements for that. It looks big, but it's not actually that.
Sounds good. Okay, appreciate
Cool.
that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's all I have for now. If anything comes up, or if I'll just send it through that mailing list, or I will save it for the next meeting.
Please do.
Appreciate it.
Thanks,
Thanks for your time,
Anthony.
everyone.
Anthony, I'm in Western New York. So if you want to talk about like more local things, you can talk to me.
Ooh, that'd be nice. Yeah. And then I can try to accommodate, because I already kind of booked all of my vacation days for the year already, but definitely for future events. Yeah, I can look towards that if we can definitely talk about that. Appreciate that.
Yeah, I didn't know about Ohio Linux Fest, and that looks like a good local, semi-local thing to go to. Only 6 or 7 hours on the train, right?
Yeah, I usually Rocky Linux community covers for the expense of getting a rental car. So I go and I just like they cover my expense for the rental car and for my stay at the Hyatt there, because that's where they have the event. And so then yeah, I
Wow.
just yeah,
You just bop down to Ohio, which is not that far.
yeah, from Toronto. Yeah. I just cross the
Except when
border and then it's 6 hour or no, 4 hours from there.
except when it's snowing like it is today.
Yep.
Okay.
Let's yeah, hopefully this upcoming November is not similar to our to the snow we've seen now in recent days.
I love it. I'm gonna go cross-country skiing on my farm this afternoon, I think.
Yeah, and then out of nowhere it was like Northern Ontario was like, feet and feet of snow, and
Yeah.
Toronto was like all balmy weather in the beginning, like around early December, which everyone thought was unusual. We were waiting for the cold and the snow. And then it was like a couple days later, oh, by the way, this week is going to be a deep freeze, -30. I was like, what the hell's going on
I know it's that bomb cyclone thing.
here? When the polar vortex, yeah. So it's like winter came with a vengeance. It's like, oh, did you miss me? Yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna I'm gonna go on about code quality because I ran into an issue that I thought it's not really an issue, but it looks wrong. And I published a little issue about it, and I noticed that yeah, it's basically code duplication, which is a class of issues that is already has a word, a group, blog around it, but this is in CDI, not KubeVirt, so it hasn't been caught yet. There could be several. And I'm thinking that it would be nice to have in KubeVirt overall an issue template for code quality issues, because it's not a bug and it's not really a feature. And if we had our own issue template for if we had our own issue template for code quality observations, then it could be routed directly to the working group, which I'm hoping to learn how to be onboarded into. Because
So, potential suggestion, we do have a SIG code quality. So if you just comment on any generic issue, if you just type in /SIG code quality, it should end up at with the right
Oh,
people.
excellent. That would do it for me. That would be a lot
It's not
easier than making a whole template.
sorry, it's not. So to correct you, Stu, I'm sorry, but it's not a SIG. It's not a SIG. It's a working group. So should be /WG code quality should work.
/WG code quality. Okay.
Thanks, Daniel. Accuracy is important in this context, so thank you.
Okay, and that's basically all I have to say. The particular issue we ran into having to do with having two different cert managers running at the same time was surprising, and I'm thinking that maybe as an additional aspect of that, we could have this CDI dash API server checked to see if there's one already running. That's so that they don't get in each other's way. Because it wound up producing TLS issues and breaking both deployments of CDI and KubeVirt entirely. And instead of having most of our tests passing, none of our tests started passing. So that was alarming. But that was yeah. So that's I could add that as an addendum to this one. And that's about it. Thank you very much for all your help. And I have never really programmed any like code from scratch in Go, but maybe the way to learn it is to correct other people's. That's terrible idea, but yeah. So let me add the thing.
So Chara, you were asking about like a separate meeting, right? So unfortunately the thing is that it's happening in the Europe CET time zone, and I think it's like 11 a.m., which might be very early for you. So sorry for that.
Probably, yeah. Because my team is in Germany, I usually start work at around 5 or 6 in the morning. So 9 is hard. 9 is hard for me. 9 CET is hard. 9 UTC. Yeah, that would be 11 or 10 CET. 9, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5. That would be like 4 in the morning. 9, 8, 7, 6. Yeah, or 5 in the morning. I could make it. It's possible.
Yeah, so the invite or the appointment should be in the Cuba calendar. You should probably see it there. If you want to
Big
import
stuff.
it into your
I will go there.
calendar.
Thank you very much. And yeah, maybe that's maybe that would be fun. A reason to wake up early.
Thanks,
Okay,
Cheryl.
thanks. No problem.
Felix, we hopped over your mark about VirtCTL.
Yeah, I figured I'd just wait. Yeah, I have a question about VirtCTL for you. So to give a little context, there's an SSH client in VirtCTL, which allows you to access virtual machines without any further configuration. And there are actually two clients. One is a native Golang client, which is like a really full-blown client SSH library in VirtCTL. And the other one is just wrapping the SSH you would find on your host. And there's a flag you can use to switch between both. In upstream, we're defaulting to the native Golang SSH client. And in certain downstream distributions, we're using the local one instead. So I was thinking maybe if we should deprecate the native Golang client, remove it entirely. Because in my opinion, it doesn't provide like any additional features. And instead, I think it's making our lives harder than they need to be, because it's an SSH client, it's security related, needs to be maintained, and from a UX perspective, it's also a bit worse than like a real client, like a real SSH client, for example. The SSH agent handling is still sort of broken. Doesn't really respect your agent or not. If you specify a key file on the command line, it will still slurp up all of the identities in your agent and will error out with something, the weird message instead. And also it doesn't support SSH escape sequences. So yeah, my question is there anyone against removing the native client and just defaulting to the host SSH instead?
No, sounds good to me.
Yeah, so looks like that's an easy one. Yeah, I would have expected more, like more people speaking up. But yeah, I'm also not sure why we have the native Golang client, to be honest. So that was
But
before my time.
Felix, only one question. When the SSH client, I don't know, for some reason it will be missing on the host, will we produce an error that the user needs to install SSH?
I'm
Yeah,
not sure how it works right now, but we could, of course, yeah.
yeah, I've had a whole bunch of errors, like when I'm doing a lot of practice, like creating VMs, and then I accidentally create the same one again, or a little bit slightly different, but same host names, same names. It'll give me errors saying, that the key is already there, or that the key is missing, or man in the middle attack warning, like I would normally see in a regular SSH, like with the what was it again? .ssh virt cube. Yeah, it's like KubeVirt or the virtctl slash .ssh.known hosts. Like it has its own known host file separate from my regular known hosts on a Linux system. I can't speak for any other operating system.
Yeah, you're right. That's also a difference in the native client. It's using its own known hosts file, and I think in the past it broke the known hosts file for the native client if you pointed it to the same file. So that's why it's using a different file.
Yeah, I remember my noob mistakes when I first got started, and I was like, "What the hell, man? And my known host is fine." And then I realized it created its own. I'm like, "Oh, that makes sense now."
Right. So if nobody's against it, then I'll prepare some PRs to drop it.
Out of curiosity, now that you mention it, is it really totally like up to one or up to someone if they wanted to create their own UI for KubeVirt? Because I've seen some really old articles about how Cockpit used to have its own KubeVirt section, and you could see your VMs that way. There's obviously some companies out there, such as Platform 9, that I've never actually seen it, but they claim that they've created their own UI, and that they used to advertise KubeVirt as a alternative to VMware, right? And I've never actually been able to put it together and actually see it in action because of my configuration is just so specific, so peculiar. Like I have zero UI on my servers, so I have to do everything through Cockpit or through SSH. But I wonder if I can take a shot at this again and oh, okay. Yeah, I'll take a look at this. I'll give this a try.
So KubeVirt Manager is started and maintained largely, or I think practically entirely, by one person from the KubeVirt community who's presented at the last two KubeVirt summits. You can dig up the videos for that. And yeah, if you're interested in giving it a shot, but also I think if you see some things that could do some work, I'm sure he would appreciate any contributions.
Oh, hell yeah, I'll give it a try. I'll reach out, yeah. Because in the near future, I want to try to do some more. In the near future, I want to do some more certification when it comes to cybersecurity. And for me to do that, I have to know not just Linux, but I also know more Windows. And so I have to be able to run Windows in this VM environment because I don't know. I'm so used and comfortable with Kubernetes at this point, where I don't want to. I feel like I'm going backwards if I were to try to go do traditional VMs or using VMware. Like I feel like I'd be going backwards. I'd rather just stick to KubeVirt and just build on that instead and use KubeVirt as my testing ground for everything. Appreciate that. Thank you.
Hey, very well. Just a couple of PRs we need to get through. Let me see, is anyone Nope. Okay, so this is from a new contributor. Seems as though there are some white space issues. And they did recognize that they messed up the DCO sign-off, and they said that they will follow up with it. Is anyone able to take a look at this?
So that was about spaces and the path name?
Yeah, I think it's just providing an error for it.
Not everybody all at once.
Sorry, yes, do go on.
No, I was joking. I said not everybody all at once now. Please speak.
I can take this one, and I'm pretty sure that we are not using it. We are not even using this environment variable, but I will double check in the project info.
Oh, okay. That's probably valid feedback anyway. Thanks, Igor.
Sure.
That was the only one that came up in a triage, and then someone has added this. Possibly Felix?
Yeah, that someone is me. Yeah, there's a PR to fix an issue that came up some community meetings ago. Basically, it's implementing something which was suggested in a proposal, was accepted but was never implemented, and so I added it, and yeah, wanted to have your opinion on it, and if it's okay, then I would ask for approval for SPR.
Anyone from SIG Compute able to have a look and do the needful here?
Yeah, you can send to me, Andrew. But I think that this requires another root approval because I'm not a root approver.
Hey, Eddie, does this apply to API because it's changing a VM name, or is that getting too pedantic?
What was that question?
I'm not sure.
What was that question?
I'm not sure if it touches the API. Is it touching the API?
It's
Yeah, it is
changing
touching
the
the
names, config maps, and secrets. So it's kind of a shade of gray.
This the config maps are created per VM, right? When you increase the pool, so it just depends the index of the VM to the config name. I don't think it's somehow affects the API. It's just the way the config maps are rendered when you instantiate the pool.
Okay.
Yeah, when you scale your
Federico and I will
pool
work
and
together on it.
sorry, I just wanted to mention, when you scale your pool and it creates VMs, then the VMs it creates from that pool, they will have the index appended to their config maps or secrets. But it will not change any objects like user created. So it should be GitOps friendly, if that was the question.
By the way, does it cap this? I mean, is there a limit to this number?
At least not on my part, but I'm not sure what the pool does. What's the limit for scaling your VMs?
Yeah. I mean, from my point of view, as I told you, I think it's fine, but I just wanted to hear other opinions.
I feel confident because if I understand correctly, it just makes the naming convenient, and you see the relations between the config map to the VM to the VMI, or to, I don't remember. It creates VM, so it's create the VMI right away. I think it creates VMIs, right, Felix?
Might be the VMI. Yeah.
So yeah, I think that, yeah, well, you can you can CC me. I will take a general overview of that.
Thank you. And we're going to one tiny little thing to go through as well. I think this is Felix again.
Yeah.
Sure is.
Again.
It's a big Felix week.
Hey. This one is about WirtCTL again. So we have a kind of special syntax for port forward SSH and SCP, which is kind/name and then dot namespace. And the dot namespace part, that's a bit unusual to me. If you look at other commands like kubectl, you will find that they use the -n flag for namespace. And so my proposal is to drop the dot namespace and basically streamline it so it works like kubectl.
Do we
Also because
keep? Sorry, Felix.
yeah,
Do we keep the old behavior, or do we get rid of it entirely? Because I would see a deprecation period being in order, because virtctl, like it or not, is going to be used in scripts.
yes, I intended to deprecate it in 1.5 and to drop it in 1.6. I think that's at the end of this post. But if you say it's used widely in scripts, we could also extend the.
I have no idea how widely this is used. I'm averse to breaking compatibility with because the virtctl API is an API, and so I get a little
not
squidgy when we
official.
start talking.
I mean, I wouldn't say it's official KubeVirt API. I mean, it was like a convenience tool to me.
We keep beating up on this tool, man. As long as we don't leave people like in a bind, then I'm cool with whatever.
I would just fix it and do the right thing. That's what I think.
All right, yeah, I think I go ahead with it if nobody's against it.
Yep, just the minutiae of how we deprecate it and for how long. Cool. Thank you. And it doesn't look like anyone took me up on the offer to add to the agenda, which means we're at the bottom, which is good because we're out of time. In which case, I'll leave the customary 10 seconds before we sign off. If anyone wants to jump in at the last second and ask a question or comment or anything.
Just wishing everyone an awesome day, and thank you so much for your help. Let's keep doing this together.
Right on. Well, thanks, folks. Thank you very much for joining us here today and for everything that you do. As Anthony said, have a great day. Have a great weekend. We'll see you next week.
Yeah, see you.
And for everyone traveling to FOSDEM, yeah, safe travels.
Thank you.
Thank you.